Welcome to another episode of Meal Prep Monday. I'm your host, Allison Schaaf, and today is an episode on getting kids involved in the kitchen, and more specifically, it would be kind of some Montessori-inspired purchases that I have made to get my young kids involved in the kitchen. So this is like a 1-year-old and a 3-year-old, although I think some of these would actually be helpful, for ages that are older than 3. Okay, so before we get into that, a quick reminder that if you have not tried our meal prep meal plans, you can head to prepdish.com/MPM, that's short for Meal Prep Monday, and give us 2 weeks a try for free for 2 weeks. And something I want to point out is a lot of people, I know, depending on the age of your kids, these meal plans are a great way to get your kids involved in the kitchen because you're doing meal prep at the beginning of the week or, setting aside like some dedicated time for it. It can actually be a better time to get your kids involved in the kitchen because you kind of have the space to give them a task and give them time to work on it and to make the mistakes and do all of that. And you're not like doing it at dinner time where you're rushed and maybe it's a little harder to have the little ones involved. I've heard from subscribers that like the meal prep time is actually a time where the kids can be a little more involved. And of course, you're kind of modeling the behavior that you would like them to hopefully pick up and, take on in their lives as they learn and grow. So again, if you want to try those out, it's prepdish.com/MPM. And, the links for that are always in the show notes. So some ideas and things that we have purchased to help our kids be more involved with, meal prep, not just meal prep, but just involved in the kitchen in general and kind of just like have a little more independence. So my kids don't go. So the 3-year-old does go to a school 2 days a week. It's actually technically called a nature school where they spend a lot of time outside. I know they do incorporate some Montessori principles. Our church actually has something called Godly Play, which is very much Montessori-inspired. I am by no means an expert on Montessori. I've read enough I want to say be dangerous, but I would like to think I've read enough to kind of be helpful to my kids in terms of having them be a little more independent and allowing them to really kind of do and explore on their own. One of the things I really like about Montessori is kind of allowing them to, or creating a space where they can do things independently. And that's something that I think is very helpful when it comes to food and the kitchen and mealtime and snack time, is like letting them kind of be, letting them be a part of that. So a few things I have found have been really helpful in terms of purchases. So the first one is a hand washing station. So this was something, and it's not just the kitchen. This is just kind of life in general. Like we found that our toddler was kind of fighting, like washing his hands, and we had to like awkwardly like lift him up and hold him over the sink, and it just wasn't fun, and we were kind of having to force it. And it just, our sinks, like we got a step stool. I got one of those like sink extenders, and honestly, none of them really helped that much. It was still hard for him to do it independently. Just like looking back, like our sink is not quite designed for a toddler. So I started looking into alternatives, and I found this little on Etsy, this little hand washing station that's like just their size. You put a little bucket of water, they can wash their hands. They do it all on their own. There's a little towel rack. They can have a towel. So we have that set up now, and it works so much better. You can just have him go wash his hands, and he knows where the towels are. So if he needs a towel, he can grab it out of the drawer. That's another thing, is just kind of looking at placement of items in the kitchen that they need. And the towel is an example of that. Like the hand towels are in a drawer that he can access. So if he needs a towel, he can just go grab that, put that on his station. He can also use it as kind of, so we don't have one of those play kitchens, but it does have a little drawer that I put a muffin tin in. So like he can kind of use it as a play kitchen if he wants, or I know sometimes like he could wash like in that little tub of water. I can give him things to wash in there, like, dishes, or even just like scrubbing vegetables or something. So there's that little sink there. And I know the 1-year-old loves washing things in there, whether it's usually like a pair of socks or not something I've given him specifically to wash, but he loves dunking things in water. So that hand washing station has been really good in terms of just avoiding the arguments over hand washing. It just makes it a lot easier for both of them. And even now it's funny how much quicker, and I keep saying 1-year-old, he is technically 17 months now. So, but it's funny how with him, you don't even have to really say anything because he has the older brother. He just kind of learns, like he knows how to walk over there and wash his hands. So it just comes a lot quicker with him because he's being modeled that behavior every day. So that is a big one. Hands down, probably the best purchase I made in terms of the kitchen and getting the kids more involved is a learning tower. And that just allows them to, it's like a little step stool, but then it's kind of like enclosed. I don't think that was Etsy. I think that was a brand. So if I find the brand, I will include it in the show notes because I really like the one. I like the one we have because it folds up. So that way, if they're not in the kitchen, I can fold it up and it's out of the way, which I like because some of them I noticed didn't do that. And our kitchen actually, like when it's up, there's just, it kind of gets in the way if you don't need it. So I do like being able to fold it up and kind of put it on the side of the counter when we're not using it. But that learning tower has been great for both of them because I think a lot of times, I'm in the kitchen getting the food prepared. Well, one, I like them to be able to see what I'm doing. I think that's good for them to kind of be exposed to that. They're being modeled the behavior. But they like to be up on the same level as you, like be on the countertops. And then I can, give them a little piece of food to try. I can give them tasks. I can have them help out with different things, kind of figuring out what's age appropriate. But there's always something I can kind of hand off to them to either do or play with or mess around with. And it's a little better than them being on the floor and like digging through my cabinets and pulling everything out and spilling things and throwing, you know what I mean? Like, I just think when they're up there, it's a little more useful thing. And maybe even not useful. Like sometimes they're helping me, but sometimes they're still just playing. But, just, I can better supervise. They can better help. And it's just like a way better place for them to be than on the floor. So that learning tower. And the great thing is the one we have, going back to kind of being able to do things independently. The 3-year-old, very easily, he knows how to snap it open. He can crawl up, he can crawl out. Like he knows how to operate it. He can even pull it out and set it up himself. Sometimes he needs a little help getting the seat down, but he can drag it over and put it up. And so I just think the more I can encourage him doing all that independently, it makes him, like it helps him and his like self-esteem, but also helps me because this morning it's 5:30 in the morning, I'm making breakfast and he just pulls it up and comes over and starts cracking eggs and, letting him be able to do that and have it be something where it's actually helping me versus being something where, it's taking a lot more time for me. That's just setting up our, experience at meals to be a lot more pleasant and kind of, a family event where everyone's contributing because he's like starting that from an early age. So the learning tower, this hand washing station. And then the third purchase I would say is the just getting plenty of like silverware and cups and all of that, but things that like mimic ours. So in the beginning, I had kind of like, the chunky spoons and forks and all that. And I had some were plastic. I don't love using plastic, but they had like, the stainless steel ends. Others were bamboo, which was great, but those can't be put in the dishwasher. So recently I just purchased like a bunch of stainless steel silverware. Because what I found is like they were wanting to use our silverware anyway. And I was letting them, but it was so clunky. It still just didn't work great. And for me personally, like I didn't like that I was having to hand wash all of their silverware. So I got on Amazon. I found some stainless steel silverware. It looks very much like the adult silverware. It's just a little bit smaller. And they're doing great, or well, it depends on meal. Like, let's be real. Like they're still little kids. So it's not like my kids are like, cutting their food with a knife and fork and just like eating very prim and proper. They're still little kids. But if they would like to try and like use the silverware, they have some that is a good option for doing that. And it seems to work really well. And along with that, I got some cups, some stainless steel. I actually got some little glass cups. I think that's very much like part of the Montessori way of like giving them glass. And that's been great for specifically the 3-year-old. I find with the 17-month-old, I'm sometimes giving him his little silicone cup because, things get dropped. And I'm sure some people, some are great with the glass. I'm not sure I'm quite ready for the glass for him. Sometimes I give it to him, but sometimes not. But it's there, and I have like a little, they kind of look like little like shot glasses, but those size-wise are really a lot easier for them to handle. Although I will say recently, we've all started, because I drink this herbal tea every morning, and everyone started drinking that. And so I've started, Ivan wants the tea and he wants it in the coffee mug like everyone else. So he started having just like a real coffee mug. And, I will say he's done great with that. And I think he kind of knows like that's something special that he gets to enjoy in the morning, just like the rest of the adults. And he's been very careful, and he's been doing that for a few months now. And we haven't had a broken coffee mug yet. So I'm not worried about it. So I think also just knowing that, hey, sometimes they don't need the special little kid version, right? Like, yeah, I think sometimes, I start giving the little kid version, then I'm like, oh yeah, like he's ready to do the adult version now. So just kind of not being afraid to try that out from time to time. And then if he's not, like with the silverware, like, he'd asked for the fork that's our size, and I let him try it. I was like, okay, this isn't, like, he's not ready for this. Like, I'll let him try it and kind of see that for himself, but then figuring out a better solution. So those are the three things. And then just in general, like, I think letting them do more in the kitchen has been really good. So, the big thing that Ivan does, and he's done since he was about 2, is he cracks eggs for me. And he is a really good little egg cracker. We've had some mishaps here and there, and there's definitely some shells. He usually knows how to like retrieve them if he finds one. And I give him a little bowl, so he cracks it in his little bowl, and he looks for the shell, and he'll tell me if there's one in there or not. And then he, hands it over, kind of throws it in the pan or the blender, depending on what we're making. I know 7, so kind of the stage he is in where he loves to help me with trash. I remember Ivan used to be in that stage. Now I ask Ivan to throw something away and he says no. But 7's still in the stage where it's like, here's a piece of trash, and he's very eager to go and throw it in the trash can. So that's a way that I let him help. They both are kind of like already learning, the difference between trash and compost and recycling. Or we have a little bowl of like snacks for the chickens, which is basically like leftover food that the chickens can eat. So those are some things they help out with. And I know like there's definitely days and times where I go into mode of like, I just do everything in the kitchen. But, if they're there and they're wanting something, I just try and like kind of step back and be like, okay, what's something I can have them help with? In terms of snacks, like we have like an area where all of our fruit is stored, like letting them go back and kind of select like what they want for their snack that day. And, I think as they get older, I'll continue to kind of see where they can help out. And I know some of you have older kids, and if you're on either Instagram, I'm at Prep Dish, or in our Facebook group, I would be very curious to hear, like, I know some of you already reach out and share like things that your kids do to help in terms of like helping with prep day with Prep Dish, or, preparing a dinner. And like, I think that is so fun. And I look forward to having my boys, get more involved with food and enjoy that, and have it be something that we all pitch in and help. And, helping to load the dishwasher. And, that's something from time to time, like, I will have them help, they want to help unload the dishwasher. And another area where I kind of, sometimes they'll help unload it. I found that, unloading the silverware, like that's something that Ivan can help with a lot. And, kind of getting the dishes out of the dishwasher, they both have helped me with that. And it's just kind of being patient and holding my breath and hoping it doesn't fall on the floor. So some of the areas are areas where I'm still learning to like let them, do that and help out and kind of learn all those things for themselves. So anyway, again, if you have ideas, like I said, I have a 3-year-old and 17-month-old. So I am by no means like the expert here. These are just kind of a few things that I am learning have really helped me. If you are a few steps ahead of me, several steps ahead of me, and you have ideas or suggestions for this stage or kind of things to look forward to in terms of stages and what the kids could do, then let me know. I know something, just a quick plug for Kids Cook Real Food. If you're on our newsletter, I talk about Katie's classes quite a bit, but she does kids cooking classes kind of for all ages. And so if that's something you're looking into, I'll put a link in the show notes. I'm not sure. She kind of has different things going on. Like I know this summer she has some sort of like special event going on that's like a cooking class of some sort. And I always love the work she does in terms of getting kids more involved in the kitchen and teaching them knife skills and how to be more involved. So I think something like that is always great. And I look forward to, like I said, having my boys do more of that as they grow and are kind of ready for different levels of helping in the kitchen. So I hope this episode was helpful. If you have not left a rating or review, I would encourage you to do so. Or if you just want to shoot a text to someone that might enjoy either this episode or the podcast in general, you sharing it, even with just one person, just really helps the podcast to grow and reach more people, allows me to continue to do it and put out these episodes each week. So I would appreciate that. And if you have not tried the meal plans, again, you can head to prepdish.com/NPM, which will be linked in the show notes. Just give us a try for 2 weeks for free, see how it goes. Again, depending on the age of your kids, have your kids help out. If you have teenagers, you could have them do a prep day. Like when I was a teenager, that was my thing. I was into it. I was helping with family meals. So depending on their interests and availability and skill set, you could really get some use out of your kids depending on where they're at with all of that. But I love seeing pictures in our Facebook group of like the kids helping out with the prep day and being involved, and the meal plans teaching them, life skills in terms of cooking. So anyway, I'm going to just keep going on a tangent, but that's all I have for this week. I will be back again next Monday with another episode.